So to repeat, right? When you're repping something in, basically, whether you're aware of it or not, it gets strengthened into your process, right? And so at the end of the day, most people are unfortunately unaware that a lot of these things that they're doing tons and thousands of reps on, including being faithful, right? Because all faith is basically believing in something that you're not sure that's going to exist at 100%, right? So the unfortunate part is that there's these people that end up in these moments of cognitive dissonance, right? That's what we were talking about. So whenever you end up being presented with information that basically you didn't have before that challenges your paradigm, it creates this poor understanding of the situation, and some people can really respond to it in a negative way depending on how you conditioned yourself, right? What were your previous reps in all of those scenarios? And this is one of the challenges and why you've got to get precise with this as soon as possible, is because it's a compounding effect over time, right? If you don't start getting the correct pattern going for yourself, that negative pattern keeps going and going and going and going, right? To the point where you don't even realize that you use faith every second of your life, right? But then in the next breath, you're like, faith, I don't believe in faith. Faith doesn't exist and blah, blah, blah. But you're faithful all day. Science is faithful, right? That's what we were talking about. So now, if the person's willing to accept that and become more self-aware, right? This is where flow would come in, and they say that that's where somebody grows, right? In that moment of that self-awareness, it leads to self-efficacy, because you've had to go through that cognitive dissonance period right there. That's what challenges you, right? Is this new situation that the novel, actually Dr. Hoyce was talking about this, right? There's this novelty that needs to be presented to actually create enough of a stimulus to get somebody to really change their behaviors. And that's the hard part. And you come back to physical therapy, this is why I get frustrated sometimes, is because we actually are trained in the best system possible for behavior change. And that's why everybody always looks at me like I'm nuts when I'm like, oh no, this is so easy. We do this in physical therapy every day. It's not really that hard. It's just hard to do, right? But the system's right there, and most physical therapists themselves don't even recognize that system is right there, right? So the question that we were talking about was, and I've never really said this before, is does self-awareness lead to a deeper level of access? And you said, yes, of course it does, right? And so that's been a new thing that I've really been thinking about. Like I think the cool part about a lot of the things with the nervous system we're finding out is that you can continue to get enhancement and access throughout the lifespan, right? Which is really cool to think, versus what other thought processes were not even that long ago, was that basically you just kind of in your 40s and 50s started getting worse type of thing, like automatically, right? Automatically you hit a certain point and it's an automatic decline. But in reality, you have basically every day of your life to try to invest some time in trying to get a deeper access to your potential, right? So right, so it all ends up coming back to self-efficacy and self-actualization, right? And it's all based in faith, right? And that's the really interesting part about it, because if we look at one of the reasons why people have that cognitive dissonance, especially with other people when they're presented that information, is they're looking at it and going, I don't know how you could think that way. I don't know how you could do it that way, because they don't have faith in that person's process, right? And so, but you look at that person's process and you got to go, are they having the success or whatever that is, the result, that you would look at? There's different multiple ways to assess that situation, but there's such a jump from one person to the next to be faithful in the same things, I guess, right? So there's this collective type of nature where people can really never know what somebody else is experiencing, right? Like I can't really understand what you're going to experience or Janan's going to experience, not completely, right? So we're never really going to access the same, the same levels, but it's our job to try to, on some level, and maybe not sometimes, because it stresses some people out too much, right? I was actually talking to Rhonda about this the other day. We both were talking about this. Some people may not be designed for self-actualization. They may just be designed that it would make them have too much anxiety to a dysfunctional level if they had to put themselves continuously into a growth process, right? That would actually cause them to self-actualize. Now, I'm going to throw it back to the flip side in physical therapy, and this is the reason why I do it, because any amount of self-actualization is worth it, right? Because as soon as somebody gets a little taste of self-actualization, and this is what they talk about in flow, and this is my favorite line in any book, right? And once you've tasted that joy, you will redouble your efforts just to taste it again. And that's the part that everybody forgets when they're in the middle of the process, because that process is growth and it's uncomfortable. But then, man, once you get that thing that you were looking for, even a glimmer, right, will perpetuate you on to the next challenge, right? So the pursuit of self-actualization is something that everybody should strive for. And it's science, it's whatever, like, it's not really my opinion. It's just how things work. And that's the challenge that I face, is a lot of times people think that I'm giving my opinion a lot of times, but I've studied all this stuff to a certain degree to be able to speak on it like this.